Arizona basketball offers its first player in the class of 2027. Could this be a change in recruiting approach?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke, Locked On, your team every day. Check out FanDuel. The show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Check out FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. All right, now, Arizona basketball, my friend. Arizona basketball, and we're going to talk some Arizona baseball as well. The first thing, though, that we need to talk about is where exactly is Arizona then in the with the 2027 class looking ahead? We have talked a ton about the 2026 class and where Arizona is at. We need to be able to look here and say, what is that next move for Arizona? And that would be the 2027 class. And I think that's something that we need to look at and we need to talk about. And Arizona has offered a kid, and his name is Bruce Branch. Now, you might say, Bruce Branch, you've talked about him before. That is a big fish here. Now, Gilbert Perry, he's from Gilbert Perry. That is a big part of all of this. Gilbert Perry is a big-time program that has obviously produced our guy Dylan Anderson, Jalen Williams, Cody Williams, Koa Pete. Now the next one up is Bruce Branch. Bruce Branch is a no-brainer offer, and not only is he a no-brainer offer, he's a guy that you watch him and you're just kind of like, wow. That could be a one and done. That is a top 10 player in his class. And you see him, he's 6'8", he's long, he's athletic, and he's a monster. And he's only getting better. That's the other thing. I think when you look at him, he is a player that is an easy player to look at and say that's a top 10 player in his class. Not only is that a top 10 player in his class, that is somebody that is, he fits in basically anywhere you want. And I think that's kind of what's exciting about all of this. So Bruce Branch has been offered. Now, generally, Tommy is kind of held off a little bit until, offering some of these kids until a little bit later on in the game. But I think with TJ Benson, I think you're going to see a little bit of a different approach. And I think when it comes to basketball, I think TJ Benson's going to be able to tell Tommy that, hey, man, we got to get these guys in here. We got to start offering these kids. And I think that's what you're going to see. Listen, Arizona right now is absolutely loaded with players, and that is not really breaking any news there. We've talked about it before. You got Cam Holmes, you got Cam Williams, you got Akinna. Now, again, Akinna's not from the state, but you get the point. Then you look at in that 2027 class, you got Bruce Branch, you got Darius Wobbington, you got, those are two guys that I would, Branch has already been offered. It wouldn't surprise me if Wobbington is. I got no inside information on that, but generally when you're a top 20 kid and you're 6'10" and you can shoot and you can move a little bit, that's a guy that is probably going to get some fanfare. So there's obviously that. But with Bruce Branch, though, this is the kind of kid that you need to continue to control the state. You've got to continue to control Phoenix, and if you continue to control Phoenix, you're going to be in really good shape because, again, you've got a lot of talent that is coming out of that state, that city, a lot of talent. And again, they don't want to play at ASU. Power vacuum at ASU, and that is a good thing because, like I said, these kids aren't going to ever want to go there. But if ASU is never good, then they're not going to really give these guys any real reason to go there. And so that's something that I think is going to be exciting for Arizona. So what would Bruce Branch bring? Versatility. He's about 6'8". He can run like the wind. He's athletic, and his skill level is developing. You watch him, he's getting far more comfortable with the ball. He's getting far more comfortable with his handle. And like I said, this is a guy whose he's got family members that play in the NFL. Mother is an athlete, very tall. It wouldn't surprise me if he's still growing. And again, that's just a big part of what's going on with this Phoenix mindset right now. That these kids are good, and there's going to be more and more of them along the line. So we also got to talk a little bit about Tommy's changing his approach a little bit here when it comes to recruiting, and I think a big part of that is what is he doing now when it comes to is he going to start offering kids early? I think he is. I think he's going to start offering kids a little bit earlier now, and I think that's a good thing. And you watch him, and I think he's kind of hitting his stride a little bit. That's something that I think a lot of people were like, dude, why are you waiting so long to offer? That's obviously a really, really good thing. So with Branch, though, who knows how this? I mean, again, he's only a sophomore, or he's going into his junior year in high school. He'll be able to go to absolutely any school in the country that he wants. This is the epitome of a kid you watch for 5 seconds, and you can be like, oh, yeah, he looks a little bit different. That's but again, that when you're Arizona, those are the kind of kids that you end up recruiting. And he is like I said, he's a player that you just watch him and you're like, man, dude, he's good. That's also why it's great, though, to have TJ Benson on this staff, because TJ Benson, I don't know that there's anybody in this state that is more regarded when it comes to local recruiting than TJ Benson. He's a guy that, you watch TJ Benson, and he just, like I said, you can see why there is just kind of a mutual respect all the way across the board. He treats people well. He is a super hardcore recruiter, and again, he's come up through the scene. His pops is heavily involved, obviously, in the Tucson area. He's obviously somebody that you watch him and you're kind of like, wow. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's a good person to have. That's a good person to have on your side. Played, and again, he's a little bit younger. He's in his late 30s. He can relate to these kids, and so Bruce Branch, that's one. And like I said, with Tommy, I think the big thing with Tommy is you just got to be able to just kind of keep pushing, saying, all right, let's offer these guys early. Let's offer these guys, and let's get them going, and let's get them talking with with these players. Now, with 2027, though, like I said, you got another one in here as well, and that's Darius Wobbington. I watched Darius Wobbington, and I know he hasn't been offered. I have no clue if he's going to be offered, but that's somebody that I would definitely offer. He is, like I said, he's about 6'10". He can shoot. By all accounts, Arizona is his dream school, so I would have to imagine that Arizona would have a very, very realistic shot of getting Darius Wobbington if they so choose. And he's not going to probably be a one and done type, but he's somebody that definitely has NBA potential. And listen, when you got guys that are good dudes that are, that have NBA potential, you want to be able to see that kind of play in there. You want to see that play in there to a certain degree, and I think that's something with Arizona that I think would be exciting. Now, where then are we with the state of Phoenix? I believe right now Arizona's got all the momentum in the state of Phoenix because, like I said, I think Koa Pete was a message. Koa Pete was the player that you're like, okay, this is a message that we are going to recruit this state, and we're going to get whoever we want. Again, Koa Pete could have gone absolutely anywhere he wanted. He ended up at the U of A, and I think that's something that just has to keep happening. That recruiting nest that we've talked about, that's a Southern California thing. That's basically that's basically a situation where that's basically a situation where you're like, Arizona, Phoenix, and Southern California, you're going to need to be able to get those two guys. And if you can get those two guys, or if you can get those two areas, then you're going to be pretty good. I think the one thing about it, too, that's also somewhat intriguing is I think the thing that's also a little bit intriguing about all of this is where do you find Arizona then? Who are going to be some of the players that you're like, all right, that's somebody that I think Arizona needs to go after. Those are two of them. There's going to be a few under the radar gems though that we are going to that are going to pop out from time to time. But there's nobody like Bruce Branch, Cam Williams, Cam Holmes. So those are 5-star kids. Those are what 5-star kids look like. And like I said, it's pretty cool that you've got somebody in there that you've got somebody in there that can, that knows these guys, that knows what they're all about. Not only knows what they're all about, knows what they can, what they can basically do. And TJ Benson is that dude. So we'll continue to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit then about who Bruce Branch's competitors might be. But first, FanDuel, my friends. FanDuel. Check out FanDuel. All right, here's the deal with FanDuel. Okay, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. The NBA Finals are here. And again, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Now, a lot of people are saying that, the Thunder and the Pacers, who cares? Guess what? Money. It doesn't matter. Money matters. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And again, here's the cool thing. You can bet in-game, you can bet after the game, you can bet a lot of different times, and and you're going to have a good time. If you've got a read on what's going on, and you say, man, I got a little bit better idea than what Vegas knows, then hop in there and say, that's what we're going to do. So we, like I said, we shall see. But they got a great deal going on. Here's the deal. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, NBA Finals are here. You only got a little bit of basketball left. Hop in there now at FanDuel. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about Bruce Branch. Bruce Branch, again, he projects as a one-and-done type. It's going to be interesting now to see what he is actually, what he is does now with Pete out of the way and with Pete out of the way, because like I said, I think he's going to show the world just how good he is, but everybody knows this is one of those situations with a young man that if you watch him for 5 seconds, you can be like, oh, yeah, that kid's a little bit different than the other ones out there. That is what Bruce Branch is. It makes sense. Now, I think some of the recruiting competition for him, Texas offered early, but he's going to be able to go anywhere he wants. Anywhere Bruce Branch wants to go is where Bruce Branch is going to go. Because again, he has that type of talent to him. He would also be, and I think this is something too with Tommy that you really, really want to be able to get in there and really kind of emphasize, is that you want to be able to say, all right, listen, we know with the portal, some of these kids, their values are just outrageous. Like we've talked about, like a Xavier Booker from Michigan State. That one was insane. Why in the world would you sign somebody that, for $3 million that averaged 5 points and 2 rebounds per game, just because he was an ex-5-star kid? You don't have any clue if he's good. I would much rather spend that money on somebody like a Pete and say, that's who we're going to go with. And I think that makes a lot more sense. And they're cheaper. That's the other thing. They are cheaper. So that's something that, I think with Arizona, you're like, that makes a lot of sense as to why you would want to go that route. Now, the other thing, too, that I think we need to look at is Arizona, Tommy is now hitting his stride. And I think that's a big part of that. Tommy is hitting his stride. And, and I never really understood why he would have a hard time recruiting because, like I said, he's a fun coach. He runs a style that players should want to play in, and he's a good dude. And I think that is something that you're like, okay. And it kind of took a while, but you're like, all right, why isn't he recruiting at a better level, I guess, would be that point. But again, I think it's here. I think Lloyd is, like I said, I think Lloyd's hitting his stride, and I think you're going to continue to see him continue to do just that. So wanted to talk a little bit about that. Now let's talk a little bit of Arizona baseball. Now, Arizona baseball, you got North Carolina coming up. Now, North Carolina is obviously awesome. North Carolina is, North Carolina is, one of the handful of best teams in the country, and if they were in the SEC, they probably would have been they could have been viewed as the best team in the country or one of the two best teams. But they're awesome across the board. They think that you watch them and you're kind of like, all right, well, that's a team that is going to be it's going to be problems, but they're also not unbeatable. Oklahoma showed that, and I think Arizona's got something going for it right now against North Carolina. The fact that North Carolina is, like I said, they're really, really good, but Arizona's got a lot of momentum, and I don't know that you can really put a. I don't know that you can really put a tag on that and what that means. I think the other thing too is that the bats are absolutely. They're awesome right now for Arizona, and I think the part about it too that I think is also exciting is that Arizona is now, with Chip Hale. I think Chip Hale's shown that he can recruit. I think that was a. I think that's pretty much. Set. He can recruit, and he's shown that he can recruit in state. He can recruit. He can recruit. But and again, that's something too that really just kind of matters. You've got to be able to recruit in state. That is a massive part because Arizona, unlike some other, with some other sports, Arizona has more than enough talent in state to be able to. If you hold your own, if you get the kids in there that you want, you're going to be good enough. Look at Phoenix. Look at Chip Hale's recruiting when it comes to Phoenix. He's recruited guys that are for the top 10 prospects in the entire state, if I'm not mistaken. And when you watch him, you can also see as well that this is a guy that with his connections, and that was something that I never understood, why people didn't think that Chip could recruit. Chip has connections to the major leagues, and that's at the end of the day where you want to be able to get. You want to be able to get there, and you want to be able to take that next step. And I think that's something that it's enticing if you're it's enticing if you're a prospect. Sure, you might say, oh, it's not he's not the young up and comer. Chip Hale knows, as the kids would say, Chip Hale knows ball. And watching him, you can, like I said, he's a dude that just kind of knows ball, and he's got the connections that you need. So he's going to be able to recruit. And the thing about it too that I really, really like is the thing that I really, really like about it is he's just a dude that you're kind of like, you just want to root for. And again, I think we've been so kind of, how do I put this? I think we've been kind of jaded because guys at Arizona, you're like, all right, well, who's just going to move on to the best, the best job? Who's just going to move on to the best or the better job next? That the part is kind of annoying to me because you just kind of are like, you're just like, all right, well, Jed Fish. Listen, Washington's a better football job than Arizona. There's no doubt. It's how Jed Fish left. We know that. Jay Johnson obviously left for LSU. I didn't have the problem that, with Jay Johnson leaving that. Chip Hale wants to be at Arizona, and I think that is a massively underrated aspect when it comes to the continuity of a baseball program that I think a lot of people kind of look past. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Now, let's talk a little bit about Chip Hale and the fact that he wants to be here. Listen, it's hard to build a program. And listen, in this day and age, it's obviously a lot different. But it's hard to build a program if you've got a coach that's got 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in the door, whatever the case may be. Chip Hale is not that. Chip Hale wants to be at the University of Arizona, and I believe Chip Hale knows that he can. How do I put this? I believe he knows that he has everything needed to win at Arizona. Now, again, he's not going to have the biggest NIL in the world. I get all that, but he's also going to be able to say, we got a program here that you're not going to have to pay for college, and we can get you to the major leagues. I mean, you'll put Chip Hale's. I think you'd put probably Chip Hale's Rolodex or his, people that he knows up against pretty much anybody in college baseball. I mean, this is a guy, major league manager. Not only was he a major league manager, he's also somebody that was a AAA manager of the year, a baseball lifer. I mean, he played in the league for a long time as well. One of the best college baseball players of all time. He knows people, and he enjoys the process, and Arizona means something to him. And, again, I got to give Dave Hickey a lot of credit when it comes to that hire because, a lot of people didn't like the hire. They were wrong. He's a good hire. He's going to be – now, the next step, though, is you got into the Super Regional. Now you got to win a Super Regional. If you can win the Super Regional, then you get to the College World Series, and then you're really cooking with something because then you're one of the 8 teams remaining, and you're like, all right, well, it's basically anyone's ball game at that point. Arizona's got 4 College World Series. You'd love to be able to get that 5th one, and you'd love to be able to just kind of take that and say, all right, what's that next step? Then it becomes even easier to recruit. And look at some of the players on this roster. Let's look at a Mason White, for example. Mason White was, not a super highly regarded prospect, but he's going to be a top, 3-4 round draft pick. He's one of the best players in college baseball this year. And the thing with Arizona, their bats are hitting right now. I mean, this is one of the hottest teams in the entire country. So you watch this group of guys, and you're like, man, what is that next level for them? Where can they get to that next level? Because they are going to get to that next level, and the pitching just has to be good enough. And if the pitching is just good enough, then I think you get to the stage where you're like, man, those bats are going to have to be able to bring it. And if those bats bring it, then Arizona, like I said, is going to be able to be, I think, in very, very good shape. And I think that's what's kind of exciting about all of this, if you're an Arizona fan, is that you can see it. You can see what the end game is. You can see that Arizona is, that they're on the right path. They're on the right trajectory. And again, in Chip Hale, you've got a guy that I think has shown that he can put together a baseball roster. Now, when it comes to Kevin Vance, I think Kevin Vance has to be somebody that, listen, that was an awesome, awesome hire. I think with Kevin Vance, though, the next, you've got to basically say, listen, man, I know Chip's going to be here for a while, but when that, you're the head coach in waiting, when that time comes, you're going to be that guy because Kevin Vance has changed everything around. I know that people like Dave Lawn. I know that he's a good guy, but Dave Lawn was not a good pitching coach at the U of A. Kevin Vance comes in and things get a lot better. He's got an eye for talent. He's the way that he's been able to manage his staff, I think, has been second to none. And you can just tell it. You can watch their feel for the pitching, the feel for what they've been able to do has been really good. They put guys into they got guys drafted, and I think you're going to continue to see that. He's something that any young pitcher I think would want to be around. And like I said, I think that he's somebody along with Chip Hale that you watch him and you're just kind of like, okay. That's a very, very nice team there. So got to give them a massive shout out. But Chip doing some really, really good stuff. So, again, Arizona, North Carolina, I'm back in the A. I think Arizona's going to win this, and I think Arizona's going to get to the College World Series, and I think we're going to go from there, and I might even go up to Omaha. If that is the case, that would be very, very fun. But wanted to talk some Arizona baseball on this show, obviously, and wanted to talk a little bit of Arizona basketball because, like I said, it is a basketball school. Bruce Branch was just offered. He's a 5-star kid. I imagine that Arizona is going to be on him for a long time. Listen, Arizona really wanted Dylan Anderson out of Gilbert Perry. They got Dylan Anderson out of Gilbert Perry. They really wanted Koa Pete out of Gilbert Perry. They got Koa Pete. Now, listen, Koa Pete obviously is a higher ranked guy than Dylan Anderson, but you get the gist. Now, the next step is they want Bruce Branch. That's another 5-star kid. I think there's next to no way that he is not going to be a McDonald's All-American. So, like I said, you want him. You want him in there, and if you can get him, if you're Arizona, I think you feel really, really good about that possibility and where Arizona, where they lie. In-state's big though, like we said, it's Phoenix, and LA. Those are the Phoenix and Southern California. Those are the 2 spots, and Arizona has done a very nice job with it. You got to continue to do a very nice job with it, and if you continue to do a nice job with it, you're going to be in very good shape, and Tommy Lloyd gets it. That's another reminder. Trust in Tommy. But, as always, Very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, locked on your team every day. And again, we got baseball coming up. Everybody, Arizona beat North Carolina. Let's get into that College World Series. We will talk with you tomorrow.